Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second edition of AP1 Bahas. Today we are going to discuss the future of Nepal-India relations. As we all know, Nepal-India relations are perhaps at this historic low for various reasons. One of the main reasons being the dispute over Kalapani. And after that, there have been many irritants, I would say. So the relationships now are so bad. It's looking very difficult it seems very difficult to be optimistic about it. But are Nepal and India destined for very complicated, very hostile relationships, or is there a way out? Today we'll discuss this topic with our eminent panelists. Today we have from India Nihar Nayak, who is research fellow with MP-IDSA, and in a little while Majeev Singh Puri, former Indian ambassador to Nepal, will also join us. And in studio we have Bishnu Rijal. He is the deputy head of the Foreign Relations Department of Nepal Communist Party. Then we have Leela Naichai, who is a former CA member and foreign policy specialist. Then we have Mr. Pramod Jaiswal, who is with NIICE. He runs a think tank called NIICE, which deals largely in foreign policy. Welcome you all. Bishnuji, let me start with you. The relationship, Nepal's relationship with India are very bad right now. How does this government see its relationship with India, one, and how do we improve it? What is the state of relationship now, and what does the government of Nepal want from the government of India right now?
I think our relationship is not so bad stage. Yes, being a close neighbor, there are ups and downs between the relationship of the countries, and we are experiencing a little bit difficult situation now. Before responding your question, I would like to remind you about how the situation created. This is created by India. If you go back on 2nd November of 2019, India issued a political map unilaterally, and Nepal objected it with diplomatic note. Nepal handed over diplomatic note to Indian ambassador, and Nepal requested for foreign secretary level meeting, but India didn't respond positively. Later, India inaugurated link road via our territory. That territory exclusively belongs to Nepal, according to historical maps, historical documents, letters, and treaty, according to Sugodi Treaty. So we claim that it is our territory, and you have no right to inaugurate a road from our territory. India again didn't respond. And government of Nepal is compelled to issue its full map according to historical instrument. One important thing is that this is not the issue, this is not the only agenda of government of Nepal, it is agenda of national consensus. All political parties came on the same board, and here is no differences between and among the political party about this issue. Yes, in democracy there are differences among and between the political parties. They have their ideological base, they have their ideological links with different countries' powers. But in this issue there is no differences. So it shows that Nepal is united. Nepal has consolidated its national stand, and we are very, very much hopeful and committed about this problem. India should realize the reality. What is the reality in Nepal? And government of Nepal is trying its best to have a dialogue with India. Yes, I believe, and I think there is no way except dialogue to resolve this issue. All the dialogue, all the disputes between the countries must be resolved.
But isn't like the government of Nepal has been saying we want dialogue, but there has been no positive response from India. It seems like that, right? Yesterday we got to read that India had expressed its reservation about the new map Nepal is issued. So India, is it right to say that India is simply not interested in talking to Nepal right now?
It's quite amazing why India is not keen to have a dialogue with Nepal. Yes, if India has the reservation about our maps, our stand, India can raise at the table of dialogue. So we are proposing foreign secretary level meeting time and again. We are requesting that, and we are very much sure and we are hopeful that we will be able to convince our Indian friends that why we are claiming that territory belongs to Nepal exclusively. I have already mentioned you, we have historical documents, treaty, letters, so many instruments. So we again ask government to India to initiate foreign secretary level dialogue. We have already proposed. We have proposed twice. So we are still waiting positive response from government of India. And I think if government of India has any reservation, we are ready to welcome and we are ready to discuss on the table of dialogue.
Okay, Bishnu ji. Do we have Nihar ji online? Do we have Nihar ji online? Yes. Okay. Okay. Leela ji, this looking at the level of lack of trust between Nepal and India right now, do you think there is room for optimism, or because every day something? Just yesterday, due to bad reporting in the Indian media, we closed them down. So it seems to be going downhill. How do we bring this up?
Biswas, first of all, I would like to thank you for this panel discussion. This is the prime time that we can have equal status between India and Nepal. If we are discussing that this situation is the lowest point in between Nepal-India relations, I think I would like to start from the rhetoric question. When was the highest peak in the relationship between us? Was it the time our leaders very frequently go to India for regime changes in Nepal? Was it the time when the flood comes and our river dams on the river gates didn't open? Was it the time when the Maoist insurgency was almost organized in Indian land? So when was the highest peak? Right now, we all of the world is now very serious about our human health. I would like to give the symbol that this is the good time to have the healthy relationship between Nepal and India. Why? The healthy relationship means that both of the parties can share their happiness, can express with confidence about their disagreement, about their sadness. So now this is the time that Nepal express its diplomatic note with very formal way and very polite and ethical way to the India, that Nepal did not agree that what India incorporate in their map, the land that they have incorporated in their map belongs to Nepal. That is what Nepal did. And as we know the consequences of the incident, that's why Nepal government and the whole nation decided to issue the new map and amend the constitution. So I think both of the parties, if we are really close friends, then we both friends have the full confidence to express our feelings, our wound, what we are feeling right now. So this is the good time to have the healthy relationship.
Okay. Pramod ji, you have a very unique experience of having worked extensively in India and in China. And right now, a major reason why Nepal-India relationship is so poor is China. So, in your view, how do you how do you think India sees China's involvement in Nepal, and to what extent has it molded Indian perception and Indian policies on Nepal right now?
Actually, if you visit Indian media, you'll find that for every failure of Indian policies, they blame Pakistan and China. For every failure, because they have to blame some external factor. So China and Pakistan always come into factor whenever there is a major issues. So connecting with Nepalese issue, yes, when we raised the issue of the border, they said that there is a third party hand hinting at China. And I think it was very demeaning for the Nepalese people. I think no Nepalese people would require a third party intervention or provocation to demand for our national sovereignty. I think we are not, maybe in 1950s or before that, we might be in that condition where the foreign policy was determined by the palace or few people, few elite people, 2 or 3. But I think the world has changed, Nepal has changed much further, and I think we don't need to be provoked by any third party to demand for our national sovereignty. So that is what was very demeaning when it comes to the border issues. Secondly, coming to your question, yes, there in India there is a strong xenophobia. There is a strong xenophobia in Indian strategic community that they find it very uncomfortable with even a small Chinese activities. China has grown, and Chinese presence in Nepal has grown. It's not only Nepal, whole of South Asia. Chinese presence in Nepal, in South Asia has grown for 2 major reasons. One, that China has emerged as a power. So when you emerge as a power, you create a space. America is everywhere in the world because it is a power, so it creates all over the world. So China is coming to create all over South Asia. So that is one factor. Second is that we are good neighbors, we have good relations, and after the so-called unofficial blockade, Chinese realized that they have a lot to do in Nepal. So yes, Chinese presence in Nepal, or you can say engagement in Nepal, has increased. There is no doubt about that. But there are also more than what we see. Many people in India think that there is a Chinese hand in many of the in many of the political activities of Nepal. What traditionally we used to blame India, we used to blame India that they are interfering into internal affairs and they are trying to micromanagement the political affairs of Nepal. And now, to some extent, I have read Nepalese media. Let's forget about Indians. That there are reports, that there are news, at least fake or real. That is for you to judge. I have no evidences to go for that. But I have read for reports that there are interference or involvement or what you call power play, or you can say maneuvering by the Chinese what you call government or embassies. So I think that adds to their apprehension. So one, yes, the presence of Chinese in Nepal has increased. No one can deny that, because China has emerged as a power, and in recent times, because of unofficial blockade, there is Chinese activities which has increased. Second is that there are reports, media reports, real or perceived, I don't go for that, but there are reports that there is increasing Chinese involvement in Nepalese political affairs, both internal and external. That is adding to those chaos. But overall, like, there is a strong xenophobia in Indian strategic communities, that they always try to bring China in every affairs of Nepal. I think that should not be ruled out.
Bishnuji, let me ask a very blunt question.
Please.
Is Prime Minister KP Oli pro-China?
Very funny question. Yeah. I have
Because that is what the Indians have been saying.
Yes. I have read some articles, comments, interviews of many Indian scholars and some experts. It also undermines our national sovereignty and our right to decision. Yeah. If our government doesn't rely on India in any case, it doesn't mean we are rely on China. See, if somebody accuses us being a communist party in power in Nepal, we are close to China, or even we are pro-Chinese, I would like to remind those people, foreign policy or foreign relation of any country is never determined by the political ideology, by the religion, by the language. It is only determined by the national interest. If ideological connection is the vital, and it is the final, or it is the most important thing in defining foreign policy, there would not be conflict between China and Russia in 1960s. If political ideology is the vital thing to decide the foreign policy, there would not be confrontation between China and Vietnam on South China Sea. And if political ideology is the final thing in foreign policy, there would not have been agreement between India and Russia in 1980s. So this means that political ideology is one thing. We have 2 neighbors, we have to manage our 2 neighbors, we want to have a very good relationship with our both neighbors, and similarly we want to be very independent, very sovereign, and very self-reliant. So I totally disagree with this statement, and I deny that. It's very, very much false accusation, and it also undermines our national sovereignty.
I gather that Dr. Nayak is with us. Dr. Nayak, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Biswas ji. Good evening to everyone.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
I intended to ask you something else entirely different, but since the last few days have been very interesting in the sense that Nepal has banned Indian TV channels, Indian news TV channels, and for me it represents a very a historic low in Nepal-India relations, in that, and lack of trust, I would say. So, in your assessment, this Hindi news channels especially, are they doing a great disservice to India and Indian foreign policy, because whatever they say has a huge implication, a huge meaning in how we see India. So how have you seen this, Dr. Nayak?
You see, this media in India, obviously they enjoy freedom of expression, and there's a free media.
Yes.
And so is in Nepal also. And as you pointed out, the recent media issues between Nepal and India, I think that is very unfortunate. They shouldn't have crossed the line. They should go by Government of India's policy, and they should respect our India's neighborhood policy. I think, see, overall, the kind of reporting is going to affect India's soft power hugely in Nepal. So I think they should have avoided this kind of reporting. I think that is very unfortunate. I can say.
But Dr. Nayak, how do we? Sorry to interrupt you. How do we avoid it? Because the Indian media is not under the control of the government of India. At the same time, what the Indian media says has serious ramifications in India's relations with Nepal. So, what do you think is the way out? Can for instance, as some people are suggesting, that maybe Nepal should talk to the foreign ministry in India and ask it to issue some guidelines to the Indian media. What do you think is a solution to this?
No, you see, one cannot generalize, because there are a particular group of media, they are doing, particularly that Hindi language media, they are doing this kind of reporting. If you see the English channels, they are not doing this kind of reporting. Okay. They can do, suppose this Hindi channel, Government of India can direct them to send their representatives to Nepal, and they can meet different stakeholders and political actors, all the civil society members, or the academician, to get exactly what is actually happening inside Nepal. Then the report from the Kathmandu, then that will be more authentic, and that will be more correct information, number one. Second, I think since this kind of issue has been now occurred, I think Government of Nepal, instead of making any proactive response or proactive action, they should use the diplomatic channel. They should discuss with the Government of India about its concerns, and they should resolve this bilaterally. And so far, only the private cable channels owners, they have only banned these Indian cables. I think it should be discussed at the official level also.
Okay. Dr. Lira, you talked about the historically problematic relationship we have had with India. So that is past. So looking into the future, how, saying that we should respect each other's sovereignty, territorial integrity, that somehow seems very theoretical. Do you see any practical ways that the animosities, the suspicion between the two countries can be minimized?
Of course, they are theoretical, but theory has lot thing to guide in practice. For example, if we say that Nepal demand to respect the sovereignty of Nepal, it covers so many things, that wherever Nepal decide for its country, for her country, it's it's on the basis of her own decision, like we have the process to decide for our national issues. So one cannot abuse or accuse for being influenced by some other party, some other power for Nepal's decision. We have the right to have the decision of us. And another thing, in the past when we have passed the constitution as well, at that time it seemed as if we were punished from the India by doing the they call unofficial but suffered officially. We suffered a lot. So that's why such kind of behaviors, and we know that in the border areas how Nepali people are treated, and even the border security is not that good. So these are many issues, as I already mentioned, monsoon is coming and many people are now going to have sufferings. So these are the very prime issues where we found that in the past, India as our very nearest and dearest friend, did not respect the sovereign decision, sovereign request. So the theory has a lot of things that guide our practice. So on that practice level, Nepal did not get that. That's why we are now telling them very formally, as you say, the situation is just like why we are crying, because we have a wound in our body and our voice is that we are still alive, as the poet Durgalal Shrestha has written in Newari song. So this is the same situation now.
Pramodji, to add to what I was asking Nihar, I had the misfortune of watching you in a TV show, in an Indian TV show, where the host was asking you a question, and then you were shouting to be heard, but they had muted the volume. So it seemed like you were just randomly making gestures, you know. So that kind of why does the Indian media feel the need to almost demean the issues of its neighbors, and again, like Nihar put forward his view, what do you think is the way out? How do we change the perception of Indian media as such towards Nepal?
Yes, you are right, and I think for that particular reason I would like to thank you for that. Our voices from Nepal has to reach New Delhi, not only New Delhi, whole India. The reason is that people in India are ill-informed about Nepal, not so informed about Nepal. When it comes to affairs, I mean, we have very good relations. That is different. That's why when you ask the question, has Nepal relation gone very low? I say no, because it's Kathmandu and Delhi who are angry, and it's two media who is shouting. What are the people? They are not affected. They might. The map has not changed anything at the moment in reality. So how does it affect the two relations? It has not affected at all. I can go to that extent. So similar is the situation that New Delhi, or you can say in India, is not aware what Nepal is, Nepal affairs is, and also there is very little knowledge about Nepal in India. That's why there is lots of ill information, unlogical arguments in India. Second is that one is also tactical, that there is huge nationalism in India, and that comes through media, that what Modi does is always right, and India is never wrong. It's Pakistan, it's China, it's other can be wrong, but India can never be wrong. If Nepal goes to China for its national interest, it's wrong. But if India goes to America for national interest, leaving Russia, it's in Indian national interest. So that logic of relations is not known by the common people there. So I think first is that Indians are not aware what Nepal is. Many of them, you might have read in the past, that they're not even aware that Nepal is a sovereign country. Many used to be in illusion that it's a part of India, one state of India. So first is lack of information. Second is plan, that government also provokes certain medias. I mean, Nihar said it's a democratic country. Yes, both the countries have democratic media, but I think certain guidelines can be brought when it comes to foreign policy. India does that, I mean, weekly briefings and all. So certain guidelines are required for healthy relations. I mean, if India do not want to go for that, it's fine. But if both the countries want good relations, for that, I think for when it comes to security, foreign policy, sensitive issues, I think there should be certain guidelines, not only to Nepali press or Indian press, all kind of press should sustain that kind of relations and that kind of laws. So I think first, lack of awareness. Second, it's plan, that maybe the media's voice will maybe make Nepalese scared, or maybe they will feel pressurized and not get provoked. Second, I think it would have worked if people in Nepal would have not reacted I think it is likely that government would not have come with the map. It is very likely, because this map issues, it's since ages. It's not like it happened yesterday. You know, so it's the pressure, people's pressure, which build that. So I think that is very important. Similar tactic was from Indian side, that they wanted to make it such a huge noise that, oh, Oli is pro-China, and also that Oli will get scared and he will not raise the issues. So I think there was one intentional, strategic. Another was lack of information, that many people are talking about unnecessary things because they don't have information. And third is a kind of what you call there is a need that both countries should work on that, because there is lack of information between the code. It's same in here. Like I think many of us, we don't know many things about India.
Dr. Nihar, you are in many ways Nepal's point person in IDSA, and IDSA provides inputs to the Indian government. And you are in close contact with the Indian bureaucracy as well. So what in your view is the position of the government of India on Nepal, say on Kalapani or restarting the stalled talks? Where does the government of India stand right now?
Okay, Biswas, if you'll give me 2 minutes extra, I'll just come to your point.
Yeah.
Before that, I'll just like to clarify a couple of issues raised by Leelaji and Pramod. I'll just clarify one more thing. You see, sovereignty, no one is questioning the sovereignty of Nepal. That's very clear. I always feel surprised why Nepali scholars and Nepali politicians, they talk about sovereignty. You are a sovereign country. You are a member of United Nations. And you are a member of so many multilateral forums. And you have now a constitution. So why you need a kind of repeatedly asking that India should have a equal status? That doesn't require at all. You are a sovereign country, you have every right to take your decision. Why you drag India into this? I don't understand this argument. Our second thing is coming to this Maoist insurgency. Sorry, Maoist insurgency didn't start in India. India has its own variety of Maoist insurgency, certainly, and it started long before when Nepal started its Maoist insurgency. But the fact of the matter is that the Maoist insurgency in Nepal started in Nepal only, certainly not in India. Coming to that Pramod's point, look, there are 3 million Nepali diaspora living in India, and when you're saying that Nepali Indian, they don't know about Nepal, they don't respect Nepal's sovereignty, they are ill-informed. It's quite, I think, a very kind of sweeping statement. You should have a very logical while making any statement in a public forum. And you have been stayed in so many years in Delhi, and I don't expect this kind of observation from you at least. Anyway, coming to your second point, that Kalapani and the dialogue. Look, the dialogue, whatever the result will happen to the dialogue, I think it is almost pre-decided from Nepal side. So the government of, I think, there's a general view in Delhi and in academia and the policymakers that the results are pre-decided. Because why it is pre-decided? Because on June 12th, Nepal's foreign minister, Mr. Pradeep Gewali, on record, he said to India Today that the map is going to be permanent and there is no room for change. And again, I mean, today also, Leela ma'am also said that the map should belong to Nepal, and that means you have already decided results. So that is why, then why will India go for dialogue on this? And a second point related to the dialogue, if suppose, hypothetically suppose the dialogue happens, what is the guarantee that the results of that dialogue will be accepted by the Nepali parliament? Because we doubt in India, we doubt that the Nepal government bring another amendment to recorrect the map on the basis of the dialogue results. So it depends upon now the Nepal government how to go for the dialogue, because government of India has made it very clear. Actually on May 18, government of India was very much interested to discuss about the dialogue issue, and that program was cancelled. you may cross-check with your Minister of Foreign Affairs why that program was cancelled. So it's not saying, it's unfair to say that India was not interested for dialogue.
But Dr. Nihar, let me stop you. But isn't if you look at the sequence of events, Nepal didn't issue the decision to amend the constitution to incorporate the new territories only happened after the statement from the Indian Army Chief, which alluded to Chinese hand, right? So from what you are saying, whatever is happening is entirely Nepal's fault. But don't you see that the government of India, even in its inauguration of the Lipulekh Pass, made a serious tactical blunder?
No, I don't think so. See, number one, I'll just come to one point here. Look, see, I don't think this is a tactical blunder or something like that. See, one thing is very clear, this is the Kalapani disputed territory has been in discussion since 2002 March onwards. 2002 March, if you'll see the Prime Minister level visit joint statement, it is said that Kalapani and Susta are the two disputed territory. Again at the Joint Commission level in July 2014 and Prime Minister level visit in August 2014, both the statement you will see again it says that the Foreign Secretary level meeting will be happen on Kalapani and Susta, and the border working group will be providing technical support to facilitate this talk. And in 2015 suddenly Nepal brings that Lipulekh issue. Again in 2019 November, it's only Kalapani. If you see the press statement, the MOFA, it says only Kalapani. It doesn't say about Susta, it doesn't about Lipulekh, it doesn't about Limpiadura. Again in May, suddenly all four issues appeared in the statement. So what I think this is inconsistency and incoherence in terms of discussing on the disputed territories with India. When the Kalapani is already there, and in the November map, if you will see, November map already included the Kalapani, Limpiadura and Lipulekh. The Nepal government technically and diplomatically could have issued a map in November itself. That didn't happen.
Okay.
And for your kind information, this road construction have been going on since 2008. This is not new, and this has been going on for last 12 years. And Mr. Pradeep Gewaliji, he on record, he said that he was aware of this construction.
Okay.
So how can India expect that? How can you say that it's a suddenly it happened? This is a tactical move. I don't think so. It's not a tactical move.
Bishnuji, how do you respond to that?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to make it clear that Nepal has issued its map according to historical documents. I have already mentioned it. And Dr. Nihar cited 2002 statement of the Prime Minister level meeting visit. I want to go back on 1997 when Indian Prime Minister Indra Kumar Gujral visited Nepal, and Nepal and India both countries issued 25-point statement after the visit of Indra Kumar Gujral, and 21st number point of that statement clearly stated that Kalapani issue will be resolved through the dialogue. One thing I would like to make clear that at that statement there is no word only Kalapani, there is the Kalapani area. It means the whole area including Lipulekh and Limpiadura, because in a statement everything has not been written. The Kalapani region, the Kalapani area means the region which Nepal is claiming for the long time. So we waited positive response from government of India. Yes, Dr. Nihar rightly says India issued its map on 2nd November 2019. It was exactly same as it was in past. Okay, we agreed that. And similarly, it is also fact that we have already objected on that territory, and India itself agreed to resolve that dispute through the dialogue. At least 6 visits of Prime Minister level it has been agreed that that issue will be resolved through the dialogue, and at least 3 meeting of joint commissions headed by both foreign ministers, it has written that the issue will be resolved through the foreign secretary level dialogue. The second thing is, India has not made this road overnight. We don't say that. The road is about 70 kilometers, and we don't claim that all the road belongs to our territory. Only about 18 kilometer roads belongs to our territory, interest through our land. So when we knew that situation, we immediately objected to India. Diplomatically, politically, in political level also, informal level also, Nepal informed India that this is not acceptable for Nepal. And in 2015 also, he reminded, when Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited China and they made the joint statement, they have mentioned about Lipu Lake, and Nepal immediately responded with its objection. That territory belongs to Nepal. Nepal equally rights India and China. The difference is that China responded with positive note. China said that, okay, we are ready to listen you. If you have any reservation, we will have a dialogue and we can resolve it through the means of dialogue. But India didn't respond. That's the problem. We feel that at this moment, India is not paying the serious attention to our agenda, to the agreed agenda. So that's the problem. The problem is deficit of trust. We are raising the issue continuously. India is neglecting it. India is rejecting it. So we are compelled that, and our nation is united, and we have issued our full political map. So the second thing, Nihar said that if when Nepal's parliament endorsed its map and it is said that there is no room of negotiation, it should be taken as a political matter. When the parliament endorsed the map, when the nation is united, and nobody can say that, okay, this is flexible, we are ready to amend this. Okay, let's have a dialogue, let's sit for dialogue, and we are ready to produce our all evidence, and we are fully confident that we will be able to convince our Indian friends that territory exclusively belongs to Nepal. If anything is made there, if the different decision is made there, that will be done by the common consensus. So we must not be judgmental now. We must not predict now what would happen in that dialogue. First, we should have a dialogue. So why India is reluctant to have a dialogue? Even before the releasing the map, there was a plenty of time. We are eagerly waiting. We tried to contact with Indian Prime Minister. Our Prime Minister was trying to have a dialogue with Indian Prime Minister. We mobilized all the channels, but India didn't respond. So we are compelled to issue this map by India.
Okay. Although this program is supposed to be about the future of Nepal-India relations, I think so many existing problems. There are so many existing problems that it's a little difficult to look beyond that at present. We'll take a short break, and after that, Majeev Singh Puri, the ex-Indian ambassador to Nepal, will be with us. Thank you. We'll be back in a while.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Hello.
We have ex-Indian Ambassador in Nepal, Majeev Singh Puri, online with us. Yes, Ambassador Puri. Ambassador Puri, are you there?
Me. Can you hear me, Biswas?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Sorry for coming on late.
No problem, sir. You were in Nepal for 3 years. You, by the standard of Nepal-India relations, I would say you spent relatively quiet time here. In your experience, what
Is that a disqualification?
No, sir, not at all, not at all.
Except last moment.
Not at all.
You enjoyed quite time here.
What I wanted to ask you was that, in your experience, what are the major issues between Nepal and India? What are the major areas of disagreement, or are there any issues that frequently cause mistrust between the two countries during your tenure?
Biswas, thank you for inviting me. I deeply appreciate. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because I'm hearing a lot of echo, etc. That's why I asked.
Yeah, we can hear you clearly, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much. So, sorry that I came on a little late. I wasn't here. Look, I thank the Lord Pashupatinath that, as you said, perhaps mine was both an eventful and an uneventful tenure.
Yeah.
So why do I say eventful? Look at, in the course of slightly less than 3 years, we had Prime Minister Oli visit India twice.
Yeah.
Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Dioba visited Nepal, India. The Right Honorable President visited India. And twice Prime Minister Modi came to Nepal. And we were able to undertake really game-changing and path-breaking projects. Look at the integrated checkpost at Birganj, Raxaul. And soon after I left, the one at Viratnagar. Bishnu, good to see you there.
Hi.
Sorry, I don't know the others, but namaste to all. Yeah, our own 3, and the pipeline. And I want to just tell you, when the 2 prime ministers jointly inaugurated the pipeline, and I had the privilege of being there in the Prime Minister's office, when Prime Minister Oli announced a 2 rupee per litre reduction at the pump, look at the kind of impact of these things. So my understanding is that India and Nepal have the strongest of links, perhaps anywhere in the world, not only rooted in history, but geography. And these links at the level of people, when we are able to take them forward, the beneficiaries are both our countries. Now, I really don't know what else has been discussed in the program before this. But I believe very strongly.
Yes, sir.
So, Biswas, I'll just take 30 seconds.
Yes. Sure.
I just want to bring you to the current moment.
Yes.
At the moment, globally and certainly in our countries, the biggest challenge is the corona pandemic. Let us not underestimate not only the disease side of it, but the economic aspect of it. My country, which is a very large economy with great abilities to be able to sustain these things, we are also bracing for a very difficult economic time. I don't think in Nepal, where remittances make up as much as 30% of your GDP, and where the obvious is staring you in the face, this should not be the big focus. And you have an automatic ability to be with us, and it's your plus point. you know India, you know the Indian economy, you have all these. So I would really say that this is the time when the two countries should leverage their togetherness for their people. And we've got ourselves distracted. Ball is in your court. I'm sure you'll think of some reasonable
Ambassador
methods
Puri,
to
you say we were distracted and the ball is in our court, but is that almost absolving India or the Indian government right now of its recent actions, which has caused a lot of misunderstanding
What has the
between the two
Indian government
countries.
done?
For instance,
So let me ask you, what has the Indian government done?
for instance, inaugurating the road in Lipu Lake in the middle of the
The
pandemic.
road is purely in Indian territory.
Yes,
I
but
say,
yes.
let me say something to you. Even the map of Nepal, in your own symbol, did not have any of these portions in it. All right. So just think about the situation, and just think about one thing. I know that the area, there's a small area around Kalapani, which has been a matter of discussion. But where did this Limpia Dhura come into the play? So just think a little bit about it, Biswas. Everybody needs to be much more cognizant of what the people need at a particular time. I come from a democracy, the world's largest democracy, and I understand what democracy entails. But I do believe that this was a step which should not have been taken under any circumstances. And it has in fact untenability. And you need to think about it. That's why I said the ball is in your court. Look, I'm very happy that even as we are discussing all this, look at some of the good things. There's been COVID cooperation in terms of medicines, in terms of testing kits. We've just signed an MOU for certain kinds of sanitation development in the Pashupatinath complex. The Hydropower Corporation of India and the Nepal Hydropower Corporation have signed an MOU. So, I'm glad that all these things are happening. Because our relations at various levels perhaps even bridge the political discourse at state level, and that's really the nature of the way things are structured.
Okay, I'll come back to you again. Leelaji, our ambassador raised some very interesting issues, so did Nihar. India is the world's largest democracy. We have this historical, cultural ties. So we should not allow anything to come between us. Is this a very simplistic statement in your view?
See, the first thing, like India, the people-to-people relationship is the one kind of relationship. And another, as I say, this relationship between two sovereign countries. I understand Dr. Nayak's misunderstanding or not to understanding how India, why Nepal is saying that repeatedly saying that respect the sovereignty of Nepal. Why he didn't understand? Because he represents the violator side and we are the victim side. That's why the perspective is different. That's why he can't understand it. As we say that the wound of the chopping boards cannot be understood by the knife. So I would like to give some example how to respect the sovereignty. As it is understood that from 2008 the road started to build, and it touched, in his, I borrow his own terms, it touched the disputed land. If it's, we are claiming it's our land, but is saying that it's a disputed land. Even if we accept that terms, then is it necessary to have the consultation to do any construction before to consult with the stakeholder country? So this is how the violation of sovereignty. And another thing, some years back we have the news report that from the Indian side in Laxmanpur Bandh there was the road construction as well, and from Nepali people themselves went there to stop the construction site. And there are others as well, as once we told that there are news reports that the terrific monsoon was there and flood was there and the dam gates was not opening, which was supposed to open due to, at the crisis time. There was another kind of violation of the sovereignty. So that's why I am saying, though theoretically we just say that respect our sovereignty, but in practice it has so many things to do. Yes, we agree that there is roti-beti relations between India and Nepal, but at the same time we have to accept that we are different countries and we have our own laws through which we follow and rules our country, and they have their own. As we say that we respect Indian sovereignty, that's why we never go to encroach any smallest part of the Indian land. We never go there to hamper Indians and comes to cross the Indian border and kill some people in the name of crime or something else, which was happened to Nepal. This is how repeatedly the violation of sovereignty is going on in the past. And you are talking about, we are much talking about the past, not of the future. We cannot move to future unless and until we have been very much clear on our past and make a consensus. That's what we are talking, that let's have the consensus, let's have the talk. Where is our misunderstanding and where is our disputed relation? Yes, of course, one cannot make the people awake if he or she is pretending sleeping.
Dr. Nayak, I hope you are still with us. I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you how does the Indian establishment or New Delhi see the Chinese involvement in Nepal? Because we constantly hear, I mean, it seems like the major problem India has with Nepal right now is the very troubling, so-called troubling proximity between Nepal and Beijing. So how does New Delhi see it, and do you think that Nepal has crossed the red line? The many Indian analysts use the term red line when it comes to Nepal's relationship with China. So in Indian view, has Nepal crossed that red line?
Yes, thank you, Biswas. Look, I can't comment on what Indian media or others are saying, but I'll give my own viewpoint on this. See, I believe that the Nepal and China relationship is a relationship between two sovereign and independent countries. How China is dealing with Nepal and how Nepal is responding to China, that is a different issue. I am not supposed to comment on that because there's a bilateral relation between two sovereign countries. As a third country, I am not supposed to comment on that. I can say that look, Government of India, I think, is pretty clear that its engagement with Nepal is very different, is a historical, cultural, and the state-to-state level also very vibrant. And the Government of India has identified certain core issues, and that has been expressed and discussed with Nepal government at the various level. And the Government of India believes that we'll engage with Nepal as per our capacity and as per our capability. We are not supposed to compete with whether China is increasing its footstep or China is increasing its investment. I don't think that is a very wrong perception. People generally say that, but I don't think that is a very correct observation. Certainly, India is not at all in competition with China because we understand our capability and capacity, and the relationship is very much clear and transparent. So, what others say, I don't agree with that.
Okay. Coming back to you, Ambassador Puri, you emphasize the historical links between Nepal and India, and India has always emphasized on the term special relationship, and many Nepalese find that problematic. How do you how do you define this special relationship, and do you think there is a future for this kind of a special relationship, or does the relationship between Nepal and India need to change in light of whatever has happened?
Biswas, I am very clear in my mind that the relationship between India and Nepal is a very special one, and I'm not going into the technicalities of bureaucracies and diplomacy. It is special such that it is almost nowhere else in the world. Let me give you a little example. The European Union struggled for 50 years to remove borders. And despite all that you hear of, nationalist fervor, etc., they haven't removed it. Even during COVID, there are movements, etc., despite quarantine issues. There are such tremendous gains on both sides, which as a result of. Therefore, the word special has a special meaning which we have transcended a lot of things which the rest of the world in the Westphalian sense has perhaps not been able to. Now, I was listening to your expert on relations, and I want to tell you that I'm very happy that she mentioned the word Roti Beti, because I've heard from different people. I want to tell you that since I've been out of Nepal, frankly, this is not what I'm following every day. And we are in a lockdown situation in Delhi, and I'm in my own apartment. She mentioned Roti Beti. I'm very grateful to her. We all understand state-to-state relationships. Just think about this. The 1950 treaty between India and Nepal was perhaps the first categorical treaty signed by Nepal with any India which categorically stated or recognized this, what you are talking about in big ways. You're a different country, you're a sovereign country. You have every right to do what you want. We supported your membership of the United Nations. So have no doubt, India values Nepal as a sovereign independent country and one with which we have outstanding relations, especially built at the level of the people. It remains so. Let me tell you something about these so-called transgressions. There are no transgressions. Think about this. We were able to go from a watershed-based principle on border demarcation to a GPS-based system with relative ease. And if 98% of the border stands demarcated and these strip maps are signed, you do understand and agree that, these are countries which know how to cooperate and they know how to take things forward. So there are some more issues which need to be resolved. They will be resolved.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about this road. In my 3 years, the country also, this certain area which has now been claimed was not there. And I think there needs to be a better understanding of this. Between neighbors, there can be a lot of issues, and lots of issues do keep happening. But one of the things in our world today is you need to be particularly mindful of these kind of transgressions. And I know people talk about it and that, at the moment it's cartography. Of course it's cartography, it's not going to be anything else. But these are steps that need to be they are not steps that should be taken. And I think this is something which is important. And in that sense, the ball is strictly in your court. But let me tell you, I am very pleased that despite all this, so many things between the two countries at the level which really has driven these relations takes place and we go forward. The people's links should never be underestimated, because this is a very true and very interesting aspect, a very special aspect of the bilateral relationship. And I really wish our countries, in fact, I have no doubt that as the younger generations, all of you take over from all of us, you will find even newer, more innovative and most wonderful banners. And of course, Nepal is Nepal, India is Nepal, but we work together to build this relationship for the common good of both our people.
Okay. Thank you, Ambassador. Pramodji, you in your line of work interact extensively with Indian intellectuals, Indian government officials. While the two governments are not talking, do you see the possibility for track 2 or track 3 diplomacy, and how does it work in the case of Nepal and India?
Before that, I'd like to briefly touch upon what Nihar said. He said that, when I said Indians are not well informed about India, we're talking about political relations. Today we are talking about political relations. The map is not going to affect the cultural relation, it is not going to affect the historical relation, it is not going to affect the economic relation. We are just talking that two governments have problems and that need to be resolved. it's a problem between Delhi and Kathmandu. So today when I said New Delhi do not know about Kathmandu, I am talking about the political issues. Nihar knows, maybe Ambassador Puri knows, Professor Muni knows, but how many Indian scholars are there who knows Nepal politically, on the political issues? You don't have to go very far, just open it, go to an Indian channel and then listen to some of the experts, very renowned experts. Don't go for not so popular, go for very popular experts, and you will know how much they know about Nepal. Second is how many Nepal Study Center are there in India. You can find out that in spite of having very specialists, how many there. On the contrary, I am not saying that we also know about India. How many India Study Center is there in Nepal? 0. There is one Chinese Study Center which is since long. So that is what I am talking about. The awareness that I am talking, it's not about Hindu nation and Kathmandu and Mount Everest. I am talking about political relations, but I think people in both the countries do not understand each other. Second is, I just want to briefly comment on Ambassador Puri said that the certain part which we claim right now is not in the map of Nepal. It's true, but there is a difference between Indian map, Pakistani map, Chinese map and Nepali map. What India, Pakistan and China does is that they put disputed territory on their map. We never did that, and the reason is historical and there are special relations. So we never put those things which are not resolved. We only made the map on the basis of what we control. Certain parts are disputed, we do not control, and we never claim on the map at least. So I think that is there. There can be question why now and all, there is a different debate altogether, but there are historical reasons why Nepal did not put certain parts on the map of Nepal. Coming back to the questions like how can it be resolved? I think track 2 can't resolve these things. These are technical issues.
But at least in the confidence building measures.
Yes, we can pressurize the two groups, like people in India can pressurize Indian government, people in Nepal can pressurize Nepal government to sit for the dialogue, and that's maximum we can do, because they are technical issues. Both sides strongly believe that that part belongs to them. India believes that it's theirs and we believe it's theirs. That's why there is a dispute. So the two technical committees, not people like you and me who have never seen a map and making comments, two technical committees should sit together, look at the map. It's based on fact. There might be some interpretation and all that can be discussed. So I think two technical committees from two countries can sit together, look at the map, look at the facts, discuss, and sometime on the basis of facts, sometime basis of agreement, sometime basis of compromise, they can come with a solution. People at track 2 level, we can just pressurize. We can just pressurize our government, Indian can pressurize their government to sit on the table for better relations, because if they don't sit on the table, the relationship between two countries will be spoiled. So we can just pressurize. Apart from that, we can't do much on these issues. Coming to one more point, like what is there? I think why India should not sit on the table is a bigger question here. I mean, we are not Pakistan, we are not China. I mean, if India is ready to send a special committee to talk to Chinese in spite of having a killing there, I think we are good neighbors. I think we deserve better treatment than Chinese. So I think we have very good relations. We have not send our army to Lipule, we have not sent our military anything, we have not done anything. Just in the map, we have made some corrections to pressurize India because there was no response from India. So that is our pressure tactics. So accepting that Nepal can pressure, Nepal can raise their voice for sovereignty, I think India should respect that and bring the two sides on the table and discuss. I mean, it can be, we are not telling that we want to resolve it through war, and it's not possible. There is only dialogue that can resolve, and that is why we are pleading, like, let's do it for better relations. Tomorrow, if you can prove us with your evidence that this belongs to you, we'll heart welcomely hand it over to you. And I think we expect similar manner that tomorrow, if you on the basis of evidence you came to know that it belongs to us, because my facts and your facts are different, and you might not have seen my facts, I might not have seen facts. Either I am wrong, you are wrong, or maybe both of them are wrong. There is no evidence for both. So we have to go through that. So when relations are so special, why that kind of behavior that we will not talk and all? I think we should talk, we should sit together, resolve that. Yes, maybe if India want to buy time, that now it's very hot time and it's not time, I think at least form a committee that come to Nepal, enjoy Pashupatinath. You love Pashupatinath and Biswas. I mean, similarly, we love certain parts of India. We want to go to Puri, invite them, have talk, make it cordial. At least people in Nepal and people in India will think that the both governments are working. That will tone down the anti-India feeling, or you can say anti-Nepal feeling in India. So I think first tone down, that is most important. Make a favorable environment, and for that you need a committee where people can sleep and they leave it for the government to do, and then you will do when things are favorable. So what we want is, at least let's pressurize, first step. Second, form a committee. Third, wait for time. I'm not asking you that you have to resolve border dispute tomorrow within 3 hours. There is no ultimatum to that. but at least for better relations, we have we have waited for this for many years. We can still wait for 3-4 years or even longer if we don't resolve. So I think that is very important. Let's build pressure, both sides, make them sit on the table and then resolve on the basis of facts, respect, a special relation that we have. India is a big country. I mean, it doesn't lose anything handing over a small territory to Nepal, and similarly Nepal will not lose anything much. So I think when relation is more important, so let's not spoil our relation on the basis of small things, and which can be resolved, I think, because we have a very special relation. It's not like complex like China or Pakistan or any other countries in the world.
Okay, we are now running short of time, but so I'd like to request you to answer briefly. Prime Minister Oli has been on record accusing India of trying to destabilize his government. And now we're talking about confidence building measures. How do we go forward? At the same time, Nepal Communist Party had this online whatever interaction with Chinese Communist Party. Then Nepal issued a statement in favor of the Chinese action in Hong Kong. So don't you think that the government of Nepal has also missed a trick in this?
Would be better not to discuss this issue in front of our Indian friends, but we have reservation with our Prime Minister on this issue, because we don't believe that any foreign country can have a role to form or to destabilize government in Nepal. We have made our constitution ourselves, we united our party ourselves, we went to the people and people voted us, and we formed our government ourselves, and we are able and we are ready to do ourselves what to do to change the Prime Minister, to run the government by this Prime Minister. It's our internal matter, and exclusively it belongs to Nepal Communist Party, NCP, which is holding a standing committee meeting, and I'm confident that, I'm hopeful that we'll be able to resolve this issue soon through our party constitution, understanding among and between the leaders. And this must not be discussed in public forum. As your second part of questions, China is doing this thing. Ambassador Puri better knows how free are diplomats here. They can meet the leader, they can go everywhere here. That kind of freedom they can enjoy here, and that kind of liberty any diplomat can use here. And nothing wrong to meet any diplomats, any leaders, because to exchange the views, to know each other, and to be informed about the recent developed situation of the country. India, China, US, UK, any big power, every big power, they must be informed. They can take the information, they can shape their foreign policy, Nepal policy. So it is not such a kind of big hue and cry. Yes, Chinese ambassador is meeting the leader this time. According to their necessity, Indian ambassador can have a meeting with the leaders, other ambassador can have a meeting. So this is also the matter of inferiority complex, as I think. If somebody meets you, you are compelled to change your mindset. No. People can meet, diplomat can meet, but we are able to decide what to do. It's our very internal matter. And yes, according you raised the Hong Kong issue, other issue. Nepal is very committed and very respectful to our neighbors' sovereignty and sensitivity. When India abrogated Article 370 and reorganized Jammu and Kashmir, Nepal didn't say anything in against of it, or any other parts of India. India can do according to its constitution, and likewise about Tibet, about Hong Kong. These are the integral part of China. So we are very committed one China policy. We are very committed one India policy, and we also expect so from our neighbors.
Okay. Dr. Nayak. What do you think are some of the steps, practical steps that Nepal and India can take right now to diffuse the tensions and to go about improving their relationship? And if you have any closing comments, please go ahead.
It's a very difficult questions to answer, but I think let the border working group, which has been formed in 2014, complete its technical report. build a technical report, and based on that, then both the government can decide when to meet and how to move forward for the dialogue, because the technical report is yet to be yet to be submitted. And as per the 2014 August agreement, the technical committee, the border working groups are supposed to provide technical report to the foreign secretary meeting. That is the one reason why the dialogue has not been happening for the last 5 to 6 years. So we should keep it in mind that the border working group should complete its task. Then I think then we should decide when to go for this dialogue. But it's very difficult to say that whether to form a committee or a because one thing is that there is a technical problem here in the dialogue here. The Nepal map doesn't figure Susta. The Limpiadura, Lipulek and Kalapani, there Susta is yet to be figured. So how to deal with the Susta in that dialogue? That's another technical problem will arise while go for the dialogue.
Okay, Ambassador Puri, what is the way ahead? How do we move forward from here?
And thank you for this very engaging program. I want to make very brief comments about two of the people who spoke before me. Bishnu, very nice to hear what you said, that ambassadors are free to meet people. I remember a piece of paper which said ambassadors shouldn't go about meeting anyone. But let's leave that out. You know, your sovereignty, you do what you want, of course, and we recognize that fact and so on. Somebody said something about track 2 and so on and so forth. I so much agree with that. Because if you recall, last year, we did an event in Nepal on India-Nepal Think Tank Summit. And the whole idea was just a simple one. We need to revive the idea of more interaction. And I want to tell you, I think colleagues in Nepal know India very well, really very well, and I'm very impressed. In fact, I used to often get myself, in a sense, educated about their understanding of things in India, so I fully understand all of this. Look, that gives openings and facilitates people, economic, cultural, and all these types. You know, none of us are in the world where you say state-to-state relationships are on a switch-off mode and we'll be able to take other things forward. It doesn't happen like this, and we must work to see what can be done. As I told you, it is, you know, I'm a private citizen. I haven't engaged officially on this matter since the 31st of December when I demitted charge in Kathmandu. I believe, from looking at it from outside, that the ball is really in your court. You need to take actions to reach out. In India, as we mentioned, we have been very serious on COVID. The lockdown is being seriously maintained here. Government offices are working at levels which they need to work and nothing more than that. Travel and transportation is extremely restricted here in India, so much so even some of the summits are taking place virtually. So I understand that the Ministry of External Affairs said we'd be very happy to talk, let this COVID thing relax a little bit. I'm sure there would be action.
Okay.
I can't believe that there would be.
Okay.
We are all diplomats and we obviously believe in dialogue. That's the absolute bottom line.
Okay.
You have to accept that there are some elements of what have happened which makes things sort of untenable, very difficult, and in a sense, the ball lies with you. You need to strike that in a good manner that seeks to rebuild this trust and confidence at the governmental level, and for us to take this.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for
Thank
having
you so
me
much,
here.
Ambassador. Thank you. Leelaji, do you have any closing comments?
I would just like to make attention of our political leaders. Let's not repeat the same mistakes that our history did. Let's not be late to work for the country, and let's not make third power to enter in our domestic affairs. If they did so, it's a blunder for us. It's a crime against our country and countrymen, which in some part of our history there was happened, and let's not repeat it. It's too much now. Let's stop it and do by our own conscience for our country.
Thank you so much. We are out of time now, and thank you to the former ambassador Majeev Singh Puri. Thank you to Nihar Nayak. from India. Thank you, Pramodji. Thank you, Dr. Leela Naichai, and thank you Bishnuji. And we had an extremely engaging conversation. Hope you liked it. We'll be back with another episode of AP Bahas soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.